What happens when a community's environment doesn't provide the opportunity for people who live there to achieve health, safety, and well-being? When this happens, the environment can put community members' health, safety, and well-being at risk. It can also cause trauma to occur more often, affecting more people. What is trauma? Trauma is the impact of experiences or situations that are painful or threatening. For example, devastating natural disasters, the tragic death of a loved one, the pain experienced by survivors of abuse or violence. Trauma is more widespread than many people realize and takes a serious toll on health and well-being. But there's growing understanding that trauma is not just experienced by individuals, which is the way we traditionally think of it. It also manifests at the community level. A way to understand what this means is through the Adverse Community Experiences and Resilience Framework. This framework acknowledges two types of violence that contribute to adversity in both individuals and communities. When we think of violence, we usually think of interpersonal violence, including gang violence, gun violence, and intimate partner violence, and the devastating impact of those experiences. But we also experience structural violence. Structural violence is violence that results from the inequitable distribution of power, money, and resources. This type of violence is often the result of policies and practices that have unfairly harmed some communities. One example of this is the way that the housing market harms people and communities through discriminatory practices that can lead to foreclosures and displacement. Another is how corporate agricultural practices and policies have contributed to the decline of small businesses, farms, and homesteads in rural areas. Policies and practices that lead to disinvestment, rural or urban, can mean loss of jobs, chronic unemployment, and economic instability in a community. Structural violence and interpersonal violence inflict harm on individuals, but they also harm communities, which are made up of those same individuals. In individuals, the symptoms of trauma might look like emotional numbing, avoidance, and heightened anxiety in response. Across a community, the symptoms can look like damaged social networks, destructive social norms, deteriorated buildings and resources, and intergenerational poverty. While the usual way of addressing trauma is screening and treating the individual in a medical setting, community trauma needs to be prevented and addressed at the community level. We can start addressing community trauma by working to change the community environment. The Adverse Community Experiences and Resilience Framework is a tool that can help communities understand what has contributed to trauma and other unhealthy conditions like substance misuse and abuse. It also helps determine a starting point for solutions. This includes developing a trauma-informed approach that identifies community assets and partners and helps everyone work collectively to prevent illness and injury and promote recovery, healing, and resilience. Everyone has a role to play in creating a healthy, thriving community. Get involved today.